Let's compare simple and full fashion decreases. Let's do some decreasing on this piece. We're going to do it two ways. The very simplest way is, appropriately enough, called the simple decrease. Move the outer stitch over one needle. Next row, two will knit off of this end needle, and now we have one fewer stitch, so we've decreased. Now let's do it another way down here. I've picked up the two outer stitches on two prongs, and I'm going to move over one needle. That one flipped itself back, and we want it still in work because we're only wanting to decrease one stitch. This is called the full fashion decrease. Now the second needle from the edge is the one that holds two stitches. So I have knitted two rows, and we will decrease again. And you may wonder, why don't you always do it the simplest way? And here's the reason. That means the outer edge will, at intervals, contain two stitches, which will make it harder to seam. Over here, where we make sure that the doubling up occurs one stitch inwards, come out here, you naughty needle. One stitch in, that means that the space between these two stitches will make a perfect place to seam neatly, right along here. Now I'm going to go off camera and do that a few more times and show you in more detail why that works. Actually, the full fashion decrease can be as wide as you want. It could be with the 3-prong tool, or 4, or 5, or even more. And the decrease will occur farther into the fabric the more prongs you use. In this case, it's on the 3rd stitch from the edge. But had I used a 4-prong stitch, this is doubled up, 5 prongs, this, and so forth. And it can produce some decorative effects. All right, let's look at the results. This is the simple decrease. Some people don't like it at all. I actually do like it a lot for some things, because notice that the doubling up right on the edge and the diagonal line created by decreasing makes the fabric quite stable as compared to the edge of stockinette in general. And you can see above where I stopped decreasing on this side, it began to roll much, much more. So for things like tank top underarms, where you don't want to necessarily have to put any more bulk when you finish it, I like to use the simple decrease. But it's not easy to seam for the reasons we already discussed. And over here, you can see right along where my fingernail is going is a little trench into which you can stitch next to that outer row of stitches, because the doubling up is all done here. I'm pointing to them in series. Now I have my tool dividing the 2-prong full fashion decrease from the 3-prong, and you can see what's happened is that with 2 stitches moved in, those 2 start to roll as stockinette normally does, and they're kind of stopped by the doubling up, so it only rolls up to a point and the decrease is farther in. And that can be a good dramatic effect visually. If you make a wider full fashion decrease, you can actually work some sort of a design, often a cable, on the stitches that are to the outside of the decrease. So there are lots of options here, but that's the difference between simple decreasing and full fashion decreasing.